thank you, Nathan Letter and Shale LePage for coming today. Nathan Letter is the director of Monster Force Zero, and Shale played the character of Yeti Boot.
That is cool.
Shale, by the way, it's nice to finally... Yes, and Shale, it's nice to finally see your face.
Oh, thank you. I haven't heard that ever, so thank you.
Okay, well, Nathan, why don't you tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, and Patrick, I should have mentioned earlier. I'm sorry. It's my last name's pronounced Latier. I get letter all the time. No worries.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries at all. No, and it's not Lepage.
No, it is.
Yeah, and your question was to just kind of tell you about myself in the movie.
Yeah, just what's your background? How did you conceive of this project? How did this all get started?
Yeah, great. So I background, just a brief kind of quick bio. I started out wanting to be a cartoonist, and kind of evolved from cartooning to storyboarding to filmmaking, and now I work full time as a freelance producer, director, and director of photography. Monster Force Zero was a project that Megan McGrath brought me on and to direct. She was tapped by Mike Pacito, our executive producer, who wrote it. He was motivated to write it by going to the cons, and just kind of loved being on the con floor and seeing all these artists, not the big name artists, but the ones who, nobody knows, the unknowns that are like trying to sell their comic books and to sell their artwork and get a name for themselves. And so he was inspired to write this story. Approached Megan, who approached me. We went through a few rounds of rewrites, and I guess the rest is history, as they say. So, yeah.
Cool. And Shale, how did you get involved, and how did you get casted?
Do you want the clip notes or just a?
Well, we got about 25 minutes till we start, so you make the call on that one.
I'm going to give you the clip notes then. I started working in radio, and I like doing the voiceover part of it. And doing a radio, I wanted to learn a little more about voiceover, so I talked to some jocks and asked, how do I get involved in the voiceover world? And they said, read these books. So they gave me some books, and the books also take an acting class. So I took an acting class out at our local community college, and I was taking this voice articulation class, and the instructor said, hey, you should audition for this play we're doing out here. And I'm like, I don't really want to act. I just want to do voiceover. He says, no, if you do some acting, it'll kind of help you work on those voiceover voices. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he says, plus I guarantee you'll get a small part. I'm like, all right, cool. So I went and auditioned to wind up getting a lead role in this play. And then that's kind of where I met Nate. Nate was writing a script for a short film called The Cowboy. He said, you want to do some acting? I was like, yeah, sure, I guess I can do that. And I get bit by this bug called the acting thing, so started doing that. And then I've been doing that since about 2004. I've done several films with Nathan Latier, and I was very honored to be asked to play Yeti Boot. But in the beginning, when I was asked to play Yeti Boot as an actor, being a little narcissistic as we are as actors, he told me I was going to play a mask wearing character with no dialogue. And as an actor, I'm like, well, that sucks, but okay. It's for you, Nate. And he told me I'd have a really cool costume. And I'm like, okay. But since it's all about cosplay, I'd like to take that on a little bit and build my own costume and become Yeti Boot. So I was able to go out and build the character pieces and get the pieces that I needed for the film. So that was fun for me. So that's kind of how I got involved, is really because of Nate and really Megan, because I worked with Megan on a ton of films as well.
There's the story about Bela Lugosi, who was offered the role as Frankenstein's monster in the Frankenstein movie. He was already a big star, and he was offended that he would be offered a non-speaking role wearing heavy makeup all the time.
Yes.
And, right.
Well, I think of Peter Mayhew too. Like Peter Mayhew is kind of an inspiration for me as well, because I think that for me, Yeti Boot is kind of like the the white Chewbacca, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like he is the white for Chewbacca. So yeah, that was kind of my inspiration for it.
Good.
Absolutely.
So what's really cool is I think Yeti Boot has gotten the most attention out of everything. So unknowingly, Shale has became the most popular, probably one of the most popular characters he's done. I mean, not to overspeak on your other roles, Shale, but you've done some
That's
phenomenal roles. But yeah, when he's at the cons, like the celebrities pull him into the booths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's really fun to watch.
The guy that's in the new Darth Vader costume actually pulled me aside that one time.
Probably Short pulled you aside. Yeah, there's so many.
I got a director's question. For the comic convention scene, like I was watching it really closely because I was really trying to figure out how much of it was scripted and how much of it was like kind of, it almost seemed to me like improv, like improv scenes that were come up like on the spot. And it's sort of like in that opening scene and during the opening credits. Nathan, do you know if you could elaborate on that?
Ooh, yeah. And let me make sure I'm answering your question correctly. There's a series of B-roll in the opening Comic-Con convention, the comic convention. All of that was just, we went around the con floor and we just shot footage. So it was just people being there and we just kind of captured the moment. And if we could let them know that they were on camera, we did. And if it was a big wide shot, it's okay to kind of use the big wides and stuff like that. And then eventually when AI, who you see kind of walking the con floor, that was just him walking around and taking photos with people. And yeah, all improv, nothing was really staged. A few times we found like some cosplayers to have a moment and we captured it on camera, and and if it worked, we inserted it in, and if not, didn't make it. And then you talk about when we go to the Monster Force Zero booth or table on the con floor. Most of that was scripted, but a lot of those guys took some liberties and kind of did their own thing, as like when Quiplash, he has his knives that come out of his he's like the Assassin's Creed character. He has his knives. Like he did the whole flip off thing with the knife, like that was improv. Like there's just stuff like that they just kind of did and brought it, and we just grabbed it, had fun with it. So did that answer your question?
All right. So I think yes, it did. And I am proud to say I was mostly right in my assumption. So
cool. Yeah.
So
well, it helps when you're on a real
watching is.
It helps when you're on a real con floor. Like that was the beauty of it. And that was the only way we could pull that off. There's no way we could have made a whole convention moment like that. There's just, without having a real con. So Galaxy Fest was the con we shot at, and if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have those scenes. So
now, was that part
Gotcha.
Arranged by the convention to support the movie? I mean, did they was that actually like the open convention floor, or did you cherry pick the players for that scene?
No, it was open. We just kind of went through and we let them know what we're doing, and we got them on there. And yeah, that's just kind of how, it just was, we were there and we just captured it.
So, okay. The next question I sort of had was, one thing I noticed when like we were going around the convention floor, and then when we made our way to that party, to which we gradually moved to the inciting incident, kind of something that was running through my mind is like this whole idea of like Revenge of the Nerds, and how like culture has shifted in such a bizarre way that like, some like the jock character in this movie like 30-40 years ago would have been the cool guy, and in this instance he's like he's the butt of the joke of the film. Like he's made to be this caricature, while meanwhile like parties are being held at like conventions, like you have these like crazy intense sci-fi fantasy like gatherings. And I just sort of wonder, like, does Monster Force Zero and this movie kind of represent like just that shift in our culture, where like this isn't like a weird niche culture anymore? Like convention culture kind of is just like mainstream American culture at this point, like with how big like the big conventions like San Diego Comic-Con and the other ones are. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's a good observation. And yeah, it's interesting. So we shot this 4 years ago, Megan. Yeah, 4 years ago, February. Wow. Of 2022 would be 5 years. And a lot has changed since we shot that, so much so that it's just insane to think about what the world was like then, versus now. I mean, of course, in 2016 we were writing the script, so yeah. So I guess on that note, the one thing that I enjoy about comic conventions and pop culture cons, is that there's so much going on. There's such a variety of things happening, like activities. Some of the more smaller ones like are more underground, so they'll have like an after dark kind of thing, where it might, maybe it's burlesque or the big con party, things like that. Other ones, it's more family friendly and more open. So I just wanted to kind of show the experience of like some of these more like underground, not I don't know if underground's the right word, but I just wanted to show like the experience. Like when you go to a con, usually you walk the con floor. If you plan on staying a whole weekend, you'll do that. You'll go check out some booths. You'll see some cosplayers. And then that evening, you'll probably go to an opening night party, or there might be a cosplay party or a contest you go view. Like there's just all these things that kind of happen. And so in this story, that was kind of the idea: just show the con floor, show that experience, go to an after party, instead of having like a cosplay battle where cosplayers are just on stage talking about their characters and people like rate the characters, and the best ratings win. We have this actual battle that happens where they fight for their powers, to unlock their powers. So there's elements of just trying to kind of capture and follow the formula of a convention, in this movie. And then it goes off the rails, of course, and it's no longer about the convention anymore. Spoiler alert, but that's kind of where it is. But on the mainstream note, yeah, I just always loved the bully characters in a lot of those old 80s and 90s movies. I mean, I bring up South Park's Aspen episode. There's just a great, they kind of spoof a couple of those movies that came out in the 80s. One of them was like Hot Dog. It's like a ski movie. And I forgot the other one, but we have that like, yeah, I'm the cool guy jock that just, thinks he's just everything and everybody loves him. And then you have the underdog geeky kids who have to like rise up and help save the con or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of bouncing around, but I guess the point being, I didn't really think too much about the culture shift as much of just for the love of the nostalgia of like the classic, movies from the 80s and 90s, and kind of like putting that into this story. But that being said, I think you're right in a sense that definitely has become more of a mainstream for sure. And I think now everybody's joining in and everybody's having fun, and the geek culture is now much more accepted, and people who probably were looked at as strange for dressing up are now like just as cool, more cooler than ever, right? I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but now it's accepted, right? There was a time where that, you'd probably get really bullied for it, but I think now much more accepted than it used to be. So,
well, I think accepted is definitely the right word. I think Bill could probably tell us about the horrid before times.
Right. Yes. So this would have been ITHACON 46. So 46 years ago. The only people who would come to the convention dressed up were the convention committee themselves. You would certainly never walk down the street in costume. If you were going to be in costume, you would bring your costume in a bag and change in the restroom at the convention itself. And now, of course, it's kind of amazing to look at pictures of all of the big conventions, and the whole town is full of people in costume, either going to the convention or just hanging out, having their pictures taken in front of, in parks, in front of monuments, whatever, on stairways, interesting places. I said, in 1976, we wouldn't have done that.
Well, I'm so glad it has changed. I'm so glad that, and I think secretly everybody has always wanted to be, that those characters are wanting to like,
right.
Be the embodiment of those
right.
characters they love. And it's just so great now that, it's normal, it's a normal
right.
thing now.
Right. Well, it's considered normal for adults now, which is really the big change. It was always normal for 7-year-olds. It's just that we're not mocked as much for continuing to like it.
Yeah.
I've always thought, for me, like, where what I've noticed since I've started, I had never gone to a con since I
right.
played Yeti Boot. And playing Yeti Boot and going to the cons with Nate and just going and being involved in that world in itself, it opened my eyes to a whole nother. There's no race, there's no creed, there's no religion, there's none of that outside BS that we experience out here. Everybody becomes one. Like everybody's a family. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter where you come from. And I think that's probably my favorite part of it, is that it just brings people together. I think it's really one of those only times you see people just really unified and just there's no real cause, there's no real reason for it. It's just to be, you know what I mean? And I like that part of it.
Definitely.
Yeah. And all right, Shayla, I got a quick question for you, and I think it's also a question for Nathan. Although the one thing I warn is that I kind of have the feeling it's a question that actually can't be answered. What did the MF0 team see when Yeti removed his head?
Nate, that's yours. I did not write. There was we went back and forth on a lot of different things of what he saw in that, actually.
Yeah, I will say the first draft definitely we revealed Yeti Boot. The second draft, I don't think it worked as well. Hey, there's Aeon. Hi. I don't think it worked as well, and we needed to really add more into the story to make it make sense for why the reveal was what it was. And then once we had that in the story, we're like, let's just not show him at all and just kind of leave it as ambiguous. Like, it's just something to kind of keep it that way. So yeah, I guess the answer to the question is I can't really answer it, because I do have an idea, but it's also kind of hotly debated behind the scenes between the executive producer and myself, and so like there's not, I should say, friendly debated. Like we're not really. It's kind of like one of those things. Like, do we really go this route, or do we reel it in?
It's like the diamonds or the glowing box in Pulp Fiction. Like, better if you don't know what that is.
Yeah. We definitely have. I'm going to say if there's two realities, he's different in two realities. There's two different versions, and I can't really say much else.
Honestly, that was more than I expected to get as an answer. So
awesome.
Also, I feel like Aeon, you have just entered the chat. Do you want to elaborate?
You know what? Honestly, I missed the beginning of your question to him, so all I heard was the very end of that.
Well,
so I don't know what I want to elaborate. So I apologize.
Oh, well, you know what I actually meant to say was, do you want to tell us about yourself, or how you got involved with this project?
Well, I was very lucky to come in for an audition for Monster Force Zero, and I actually read for Hot Babe. I thought that would have been a good part for me for whatever reason. I was thinking that. So I went out for Hot Babe, and I guess I didn't do very well. They just asked me to read for Ammo, and I guess I did okay. So, so here
Ammo
I am.
You did well, Aeon. You did well. She came in with a certain look and just attitude that just kind of was like, that's totally Ammo, so yeah.
I don't know, you were part of the main team, so I think that's an upgrade, not a downgrade.
Yeah, so I'm not upset about it by any means, and I think that I'm a lot more like Ammo with my high strungness, so I think it worked really well.
I think Aeon's more joyful in real life than Ammo is. Ammo is just
yes.
All right, so last thing though, Megan, did you say that was did I hear right in that you were the producer?
Yes, I am producer. I did produce with Nate. We've been working together for almost 15 years on a number of projects, but yeah, I was a producer. I was working on another film, and our executive producer took notice of the work that I was doing, and said, "Hey, let's chat. I have a movie." So that's kind of how that all got started.
Before this session officially started, I was talking with Nathan, and kind of like how the timing of this movie like hit right during COVID, and a movie about conventions, like it kind of almost seems to be representing a time that's removed now. And so what I wonder is like, do you think that once conventions open up, like this movie will significantly become far more relevant to culture, and we might be like flocking to conventions even more than we were before, because we didn't realize just how much we missed them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. Maybe it even opens up more doors for the opportunity to meet the actors that you enjoy, or the writers or comic book artists that you've been kind of cooped up, reading and watching and listening to during the pandemic, and now you can go and actually see them in person. I mean, I think that's there's so many cool things about conventions, but that's one of them too, is like you get to see these people in real life. You're like, oh my God, they do exist, right? And then you get to meet these artists and get something commissioned, commission something for them to make. And so I think they're gonna explode. I think people are so pent up, you want to get out. Unfortunately, I think some of them have gone under due to the pandemic. So hopefully the ones that are still around, like you guys, it's like, hopefully when everybody's able to get back out there, everybody's just flocking, and, but then at the same time, then it's not as fun, because then you can't really get around because there's so many people. But
Right. I mean, I think we at least maybe get a free pass because we technically did not have a convention last year. But I figure, COVID, everyone gets a free pass. I think we can still call ourselves a continuous convention, because if we did hold a convention in March of 2020, I think we would have crossed ethical lines, and I think we, as well as anyone else who had to cancel that year, deserve a free pass.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think we just kind of hit the pause button. 2020 was just a big pause button. So, and now we're unpaused, and now we're unleashed. So, Monster Zero is definitely made for the con, the pop culture, or the Comic Con, or the Fantasy Con, the Furry Con. And so we're very happy that things are opening up again, and that we can finally show it to the audience that it was made for. I mean, that's 100%. The audience is the con, so we're very happy to be at this moment. So
awesome. Well, I guess the only thing I'd say is we're nearing the time where we're gonna switch over to watching the movie. And what I wanted to just ask is, does anyone else want to add anything? I know a few people sort of came in late. No. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant
it's
like.
Okay, I did. I'm
does
sorry.
Everyone, I just meant it in the sense that not
Call me out.
everyone
It's okay.
got as much. Not everyone got as much time as everyone else to speak. So I just meant like, do you want to take the floor for the remaining?
I just want to say, talking about getting back to conventions, I can't wait to go. I mean, watching the film, and like that was kind of like the last big thing that we did right before COVID happened. And I mean, just getting back out there, and like Nate was saying, you can go to the cons, and everybody's dressed up, and then you can meet the artists, and you can meet people that you love. And I just can't wait to be back there and to meet everybody and to just be in that environment again. I miss it so much.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, just for, this is our first, technically, our first con and con showing. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. It's been really great working with you guys.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. It's been a real honor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys very much for putting it out there and giving us some exposure and letting people see our little film.
Okay. I have to point out, Ed has pointed out to me that I've got a link problem on the schedule page. So I'm going to take a few minutes and fix that. And I say it will take 3 or 4 minutes. So you guys can either keep talking, or anybody who's waiting to watch the movie, just please keep waiting.
Thank
Well,
you.
you know what that means. We got more time to talk. So anyone else got anything they want to add?
I'd like to throw in a fun, and there's so many things that happen in this movie, but speaking of the conventions and the cosplayer, I guess that's one thing I really miss about the conventions too, is seeing the cosplay and the people who play, and especially the ones that make their own costumes. I absolutely love like asking people. My dad actually, he's really about it. He'll find the ones that he's like, I have no idea what that is, just to talk to them about their costume. And it's really fun because like I love how they'll just like go into it, like, I am Yeti Boot. I am a Yeti from blah blah blah, and I have these great abilities. Like, look at this weapon, that I made, and you know what I mean. Like they put all this time and effort and energy into it, and they're really proud of it. They can be at the con floor, and it can just be that character that they created. And I made sure to put some of that in the movie. Whenever AI is asked who he is and what he's about, like he goes into this like spiel of his character, and I really, it's one of my favorite things about AI in the film is he really embraces his character, and he's really happy to talk about it. And I just can't wait to get back to the cons and find those people and hear those people, and I'm glad the movie has an element of that. So
Yeah. I actually got a quick question for Megan. So you said I heard that this has like been a timeline of like 4 or 5 years for this film, and then like there's an even longer time for sort of the network that you seem to have developed. Like how did all that break down? Like how did you meet Nathan, and how did that move forward?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So I just kind of broke out in 2006, really trying to get into film full time, and had gotten connected with a guy who was able to kind of get me on different projects. And through one of those projects, I ended up meeting Nate and I's mutual friend, Matthew Nelson. And that's where I met Nate. And then Nate and I have we've been making all kinds of movies and videos and so many different things, promotional videos. We have a couple companies under our thumbs, and in just the sense of the work that we do and what we're doing. But yeah, so that's kind of how we met, and just, it really is about connecting with others and networking with people in getting on projects. So it's been a unique journey and experience.
Can I give a quick shout out?
Yeah, go for it.
So one of the things I'm kind of excited about this whole film and the characters that we have is that I can't wait to see them cosplayed at the Comic-Cons. That's something that as an actor, I just can't wait to see something that I've done portrayed, or something that I've done touch somebody to the point where like, ooh, I want to do that. So I would like to give a shout out to this gentleman by the name of Frank Kaufman. Frank Kaufman is the one that designed the Yeti mask for Yeti Boot, and he also did the hands for Yeti and the Sasquatch. And if anybody wants to cosplay Yeti Boot, you just go to undeadmonsters.com, and he has a whole plethora of like gorilla and Yetis and Bigfoot costumes there. But that's where I was able to find the mask for Yeti Boot, and it was quite an adventure trying to find a mask for him. So if you guys want to cosplay Yeti Boot, go to undeadmonsters.com and look up Frank Kaufman.
Okay, well, Bill has been telling me that it looks like we are actually all set to go. One thing though I'd like to ask Shale, I got the impression watching Monster Force, if you have like a Yeti costume or some sort of gorilla or costume like that, it just seems like everyone immediately likes you. Do you think that will be someone's experience if they go to a convention?
Absolutely. I actually went to Comic-Con as Yeti Boot, and I actually played 2 different characters that I was in 2 different films. So Yeti Boot and this military guy. And I went around the floor, and nobody gave a damn about the military guy. I put on the Yeti suit, and everybody is drawn to him. One of my favorite stories was this kid that had autism. He came up to me, and he was dressed in a Spider-Man costume, and he had his face all painted green. and I think he was autistic, and he came up to me and he's like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And to me, that's the most touching thing, is to see these kids want to get their pictures with you. And I said, "No, buddy, I would be honored if you would take a picture with me." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to take a picture with you. Let me get your picture, please." And the cutest thing came out of his mouth. He's like, "Okay, but don't bite my fingers off." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to bite your fingers, buddy, but I definitely want a picture of you. So if you take a picture with me, no finger biting will happen." And that's one of the draws to me, is just he's everybody likes him. Everybody wants a picture with him, regardless of who he is. They don't care where he comes from. They just want to be around him. So yeah, I love him.
If anybody else has something because of getting off to a late start that they'd like to say, please do.
Just thank you again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's all I have. That's all I have left. Thanks. Just
Okay.
thank you.
Right. Right. Thanks very much. For the rest of our participants, I'm going to start the movie shortly here.
I wanted to ask, what was it like to shoot all this? And
So we actually staged this party, but I guess what makes it real was that everybody there was partying while we were making it. So we did have keep control of the room. And most of the time when you saw everybody dancing, there was no music. They were just kind of moving and grooving and pretending there was music going on in the background.
Pretty sure I was dancing music. I heard music. Maybe it's my head. I heard music. Best day ever. So much fun. We had all the fog machines and the strobe lights going, and it set off the fire alarm. And it was just so much fun. All the cosplayers and all the cast and crew, everybody had to go outside, and there's just smoke billowing from inside the club.
so the fire alarm was set off, just like a real party.
Oh yeah, it was a real party.
Those poor furries, you could just feel the sweat seeping through their costumes by the time we were done. I will note, we have our DVD, not the special con DVD, but the DVD from online or at Walmart. They have behind the scenes on there. They have a bunch of behind the scenes footage of this.
Now who's your
Especially this party
father,
scene.
son?
The Monster Force Zero comic
maybe
that
it's a
exists in
prize
this
for
movie.
solving a puzzle in the janitor
Either of you
closet.
have like any idea what is in that comic?
say this is
like
one of the beacons.
what is the
That means
fictional
one of us
story
has a
that
chance to unlock
the
our
three of these people wrote?
That might be a question for the guy that Mike who wrote the movie. I don't want to say it's like Power Rangers, but there's like that aspect to what
We're here for you, man.
it's like in the comic. That music is an homage to The Fifth Element and Woody Rob.
I always thought the puppet was really well puppeted.
That's Shale LePage as well. He built that, and he's voicing it, and he's doing all the movements for the puppet.
Gonna finish what I started.
Bring it, asshole.
And he built the set.
A member of each team has destroyed a beacon.
Yes.
The remaining
He built
beacons
this
are
set
here
too.
in Scream.
Dale did everything.
And also, I thought I spotted him earlier throwing the comic in the trash can. Was that him?
Be the first team
Yeah.
to destroy all the beacons.
His army character. Sorry, Nate.
That's all right. Yeah, he's on the character.
Oh yeah, we got this.
So he was there the whole
DOD.
time, and we did see his face.
Which one do you think it is?
Yeah. That character he's dressed as is a character he played in a movie called T-Rex. He is in Zombiesaurus Rex, which you can check out online in multiple places as well. This scene was actually shot in a these kids' clubhouse in the woods.
Wow.
Yeah, this is something different. So we shot this in an entirely different place.
So
This-
what are the What are the locations that are comprising this sequence?
So this spot right here, what you saw last was shot in,
Did you guys hear that?
there's a Monument, Colorado.
The beacons.
There's an area where a lot of people live in the forest, and they have, yeah, so that's where we shot that. And this is all taking place in an old abandoned warehouse in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
It's incredible.
All these scenes. Yeah, pretty much everything
Gotta get you to that.
that you've seen so far in
Right.
the sequence
Hey,
has been
what's
here,
wrong?
except for when he leaves.
Wake
and does
up.
that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just overloaded.
Beautiful.
Well, it's all
Cadet.
spliced together like perfectly.
The
If you
moment
told me it
unlock
was
your
all
powers,
one
you
location,
hit
I
his ass
believe
with your
you.
telekinesis.
And that would go out to our editor,
I'm kidding.
Tyson.
I'm just generally
Tyson
in the mood.
killed it in the edit.
I hate to ruin your plans.
So, Anna, what was it like to do this fight sequence?
When I found out we were gonna do fight scenes, I got super stoked. It was really fun.
So what is it like to do fight choreography? Is it the kind of thing where you like have to like do some sort of preparation in advance, or do you just follow a very specific set of instructions?
Yeah, we went over it a lot at the different locations on mats and things to make it safe, and they showed us how to do it, and then we tried it with the fight choreographer, and then we tried it with whoever we were fighting.
Yeah, we had Greg and Rosellis, who both helped with the stunts and the fight choreography, and they did a great job keeping everybody safe and making everybody look good.
Feel the wrath of the mighty final boss! Move on back!
My favorite track in the movie. I love this track. The soundtrack.
Looks like I
Remind
joined
me
the
again,
team.
who did the music for this?
2600.
Not taking new members.
He's a phenomenal musician. Plays on a ton of instruments. He has a bunch of albums out on Spotify and SoundCloud.
Can't tell what's real anymore.
This
You
is
know, I
time for
wonder
a
if, like,
reality check.
since synth has become so prominent in like the 2010s and the 2020s, like, can you even call like synth an 80s genre anymore, since it kind of feels like it's in the present now?
Two are busy all over each other. Get a room.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I read an article back in 2019 that said synthwave has finally hit the mainstream,
So badass.
which is funny to say because
Robot.
since it's always been around, right? But
Invalid
even with
before I do.
the album released by The
Bye,
Weeknd
Felicia.
is recent album that came out in 2020. I mean, that whole album is pure synth. It's pure like dark synth. It's like 80s meets now. It's such a beautiful album.
So, Ann, I think you got the, you lucked out in all of this. I think you got to play Ammo instead of Babes.
Yeah, Ammo's a badass for sure.
I told you. Idiots! How did it lose?
I do want to point out that those curtains, you can light those. That's natural
Negative.
sunlight glowing on
They
those
might
curtains.
still prove helpful to the
I love
cause.
it.
Stupid human! Anger is a savage.
Natural lighting, I find, is always like a nightmare to work with, so it's incredible when it works.
Best
Yeah,
remedy for a short temper.
I don't even, it
is a
just
long
works.
walk.
A trite piece of human
So,
philosophy.
it's awesome. I love it. I got to comment on this. So, Pat Tanaka, WWE wrestler, superstars. Well, he's a
Not
legend.
now. Not yet.
And he suggested doing the stunt you're about to see. Wasn't in the script. He did it on that hard floor, and he did it 3 times. The guy is an animal. And
How's the pacer, Mr.
I'm so
Janitor?
thankful he was like, yeah, I'll do it, no problem.
In the garage.
Did he land
ready to
safely
go.
each time, or was there a bad one in there?
Thank you. Please go and retrieve
I don't think he would have
Monster
told me. I don't think he would have admitted it. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm fine. You want to do another? Yeah, I'm fine. You want to do another? So yeah, they just know what they're doing, man. I know they were watching the way he was like tucking his head as he rolled, and you know, Greg, who was helped with the coordinating, was there to kind of walk him through it as well. But I just thought it was so cool
Remember
that he
your
was
rank
doing it.
and your place.
So, real quick, this was shot in the scrimmage sanctum, these lights. And then this was actually shot outside 100 miles in a different area of them walking to the headlights. That's the movie magic part.
This movie, to me, when I watched it, it kind of seems like it has two very distinct halves. Was that intended with like the fake credit scene, or was that more of just a small gag?
It was definitely a small gag, and a lot of people have asked a similar question. And yeah, at this point, we've kind of left the ordinary world. Now we're in this crazy whatever world we want to, that they're in. Because of the lack of budget, I really wanted something like in The Running Man, where there was actually an audience and people watching this like live televised at their Comic-Cons. We couldn't do that. I still left some of those elements in there. That's why the credits were left in as well. This was shot in our executive producer's garage. He was very nice enough to let us come by and do it. It worked out great. Of course, he doesn't have that little green space. We had to do all that.
How are you?
How much digging had to be done to like pull all those old monitors out?
So that Mac, that old Apple computer, is my dad's. And then those monitors right there that you see, like, they were all basically stuff we got from like thrift shops and everything.
Impressive.
And then the rest of it's just odds and ends from thrift shops. The boxes are just from a U-Haul store, and we just made it look like there was a bunch of boxes everywhere. And the green glow you see right there, that's bubble wrap that you would use to wrap packages. You can just buy big rolls of it at
Congratulations,
Walmart.
Monster Force Zero.
It's like 50
You are
feet of
now
bubble
ready
wrap
to proceed to the next
scrape
level
them
of the
down
game.
and shine green lights on them to make it look like to get that glow.
They call themselves the Unidentified.
It's amazing what you can do with just a
Dr.
few gels.
Yolanda Each, PhDs in
Right?
biochemistry from
And,
Stanford,
also on that note,
nanoscience, and
LED lights, we bought a
astrophysics.
bunch of them for
Genetics from
Amazon. They're
Caltech.
like 14 bucks a piece.
She's
and
one
they're
of the
like,
most gifted humans in the history
like uplights.
or future.
And we
She
had
has
like a ton
developed
of them.
antiviruses
And
for
that's what we
Ebola
used to light like half this movie,
and HIV.
especially with all that color.
She has figured the composition of dark matter. The Unidentified have pulled some sort of organism through. We believe it might be an alpha draconian, a gamma reptilian being from the multiverse. It could be the Pinder itself. We aren't sure.
So
We thought we
I've watched a little bit of
Ancient
Ancient Aliens, and I've skimmed through Chariots of
They
the
are
Gods.
anathema to life.
How much
More
of
to
the
us
movie
than them.
borrows from like
To
the
smell
Chariots of
them,
the God, like
look at
Ancient
them.
Alien lore?
Hear them. It stops it to us in the highest degree.
Yeah, that's a good question. So this again is more of a
Paralyzed in death.
Zito
The
question.
Unidentified have no idea what they might unleash.
I've only watched
Not just for
the
the
Ancient Alien
reptilians,
series.
but for the rest of the multiverse.
Not so much.
Our ground
I
is
haven't really
so
read
failed.
Chariots of the,
We can no longer run
Gods,
the
but I
risk of
know
being
a little bit
detected.
about it.
This is
Definitely
why
on the
we're
idea
here
that
now.
the Anunnaki
Dr.
have kind of
H knows
shaped
the truth about
the
human
human
history
race
and the truth about us. She
in
doesn't
this
like it.
universe,
She's seeking to
this
eradicate
story.
us. She must be stopped now.
Hence the idea that they can
She's
unlock
near
human
completion of the
brains
quantum
and give them the
computer.
abilities to use
Is
these
that really
powers
so
that
bad?
they
What
desire to
sign
have.
are you on, human?
But we mostly just focus on the ancient
that's
aliens
real?
aspect with the Anunnaki and the
So as a
Gigi.
relative, the Yeti.
It's just kind of that over-the-top notion of like
Beware.
the possibilities of what these guys can do, in our
Evolved highly
universe.
as a survivor and hunter.
Like you guys
Yeah,
might
well,
like this.
what I'm also curious about is like, of like the writers, what was the level of belief you think? Like, do you think the ancient alien mythos is just a fun thing to pull on, or do you Was
That is
there
your body
some
camera
belief in this?
and your compass. Keep it with you at all times.
Yeah, that's
We
a
will
good
not be
question.
able to
I don't.
help you.
I couldn't really speak for Mike on this. I think there's some truth.
They're
I always
here,
say it's a game of telephone, right?
and there
Like
is no more time to waste.
tens of
You
thousands
will
or
use a
millions of
pacer
years
to
ago, our
honor it,
ancestors
as
could have
close
like
as you say.
actually had
Let's buckle
amazing
up.
technology or worked with aliens. But as the time goes on and as that's passed down from generation to generation, you know, that stuff gets lost in translation, right? And so people translate it differently
We don't have
because their
time.
imaginations can only imagine only so much, they don't, you know, only so much, right? So I feel like there's something like that when it comes to our planet or our people, you know? I don't know, but I don't have any proof. It's just fascinating to me. So I believe somewhat of it, you know, sort of it, a little bit of it, but yeah.
So, what was the process of getting this
Hello there.
guest?
I'm Garrett Wong. You may remember me from that one.
Yeah, so Garrett was hosting Galaxy Fest
Welcome.
while we were out there filming.
You will be
And
arriving at
we
your
filmed the Galaxy Fest a year
96.
prior, all the scenes you saw at the beginning.
Actually, you're
And
already
then we, the
But
following
let's
year, came
foster
back
the
and
illusion.
asked Garrett if
Human
he would take
evolution
part
was
of this.
accelerated by the
And
Anunnaki.
yeah, he was down. It was actually
They
Shale,
came as
dressed as
peaceful
Yeti boot,
friends
that
to
more or less
our
walked up to
broken
him and was
yet
like, hey man,
life-giving
we're doing this
chunk
film,
of
we'd love for you
Tiamat.
to do a cameo.
All of the great
And then he was like,
mysteries
yeah,
of
sure.
Earth
And we
are
got
thanks
Megan,
to them.
got him in touch with
One way
Megan,
or
and
another.
you know, I guess
While we
that's how we
hominids
made it
were
happen.
boosted, we were not fully unlocked.
You'd be
So
amazed
our
by
progress could be
how
monitored
persuasive
and we could be
simply
kept safe.
asking someone to do
These
something can be,
mysteries
no
were
matter
revealed
how
over 6,000
much of a
years ago
celebrity clout they
to the
have.
ancient Sumerians.
Yeah.
The Anunnaki,
And he was really awesome.
aligned with the Ajiji, more
he was
commonly
super
known as
cool.
the
He hung out
Greys,
with us
is
for
the
2 hours.
only
We
known
shot
war
this
of this
segment in like
galaxy.
30 minutes.
The Sumerians
Um,
helped their friends for the
did a little
greater
mini
good
Q&A with them,
against the
and
chaotic Alpha
he too has some
Draconian reptilians.
beliefs when it comes
They
to
were
a lot of
banished
this,
to the
this,
multiverse.
this subject matter.
That was all right. Yeah. I mean, I felt about 80% on that, but I think it's
Okay, please
You know,
confirm.
it's passed.
This is just all genuine, right? Right now, that last bit at the end.
Sort of. We thought it'd be fun to to break the fourth wall, and my voice makes a cameo. We had some fun with it. We love the idea of like when they wrap up a talk show and they like the old '90s talk shows. You know, they would like fade the sound out, but then the show music would fade up and it would cut to the wide and you'd see them talking to each other and it would like fade to commercial, you know? So we wanted to mimic things like that to kind of break the fourth wall. And,
You have the element of surprise.
it was fun. We did a bunch of different variations. That's the one that made the cut.
It's like when
go,
someone
guys.
forgets to turn the mic off or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. We did some of those. We did so many of them. I mean, there's so much stuff we did. It would have been awesome to just do a whole reel of just Garrett having fun with us in the studio. Oh, I should say this. So this garage and the exterior you saw before it that established it is in Elizabeth, Colorado, and the guy Terry is his name, has the largest collection of American Motor Company vehicles on the planet. He has like thousands of cars that he collects, and so he's like replica AMC, gas stations, AMC. Garages, so that's where we filmed all these scenes with being identified. If you don't know AMC,
What are you
definitely
doing?
Google it. It's really fascinating. But the movie Cars from Disney, a lot of those cars in there were AMC cars that they used.
I give props to the actors because even the humanoid aliens, everything about the movement or something to that effect is awkward, unnatural, and alien.
Send in the squatch.
I think it was great as everybody just accepted
that?
the world and just like had fun with it and just, you know.
Take it slow.
It was fun. 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 It was fun.
played everything with a wink and a nod, but at the same time took it
I
seriously.
can't help it. I haven't.
So,
Everyone all right?
are we to
Shouldn't we
believe
be
that
asking you?
most of the aliens in this movies are shapeshifters
From here on
who are
out,
just
you
taking
remain a
humanoid
thief,
form
no matter what. All
that
right?
they can relinquish at
Right.
any time?
That's interesting. Who are you referring to?
Yeah.
Well, good question.
Isn't he identified?
The Anunnaki appear to be able to do it, if I remember correctly.
Why do you fight for the Anunnaki? Fighting on the wrong side of history.
Fluffy born human, your stupid apes are still killing each other over who has a real god.
No, that's
Better than
fascinating.
being Frankenstein monsters.
And I'm curious. I guess I'm just wanting a little more. If you want to elaborate a little bit.
I guess I'm thinking of that one scene where
I'm an Igigi, Zeta Reptilian. You know, Roswell, Devil's Tower.
Devil's Tower is from Close Encounters.
he goes, "Is it?" and then like kind of almost seems to like mask off his real
Yeah.
form for a second.
Yes, yeah, he's an Igigi. There's a little bit of dialogue that talks about that right before he does that, which is a gray alien, which is from Close Encounters. And so yeah, he's like, he's able to be in human form, and then like shift back to his
Stories of
natural,
destruction are only our last resort.
I guess, organic alien form.
Right, so
Most
these
of
two, they're
course,
not
still
actually the
portrayed
same
on
alien
basic
race. They're two
operations.
different species of alien,
That last
right?
will be more than enough to
Yes,
eliminate
correct.
the gamma
So
ray.
the Anunnaki,
What just happened?
and this is, I guess, debated, but the Anunnaki is much more of a supreme alien race.
Let's get him.
And Igigi as well is a very technologically advanced race. But there's like the idea is the Anunnaki is like the supreme, right? Like the life, they create life and all that. So that's why she's more in control. We did shoot a scene where we actually revealed her in her true form, but that didn't make the cut.
I disagree. Now's the perfect time.
So, how much of Biff Tannen is imbued in his DNA?
That's a freaking monster.
This thing is gonna kill all of us.
All right, space.
That's funny. I haven't heard it
blasted.
No,
compared to Biff,
we need a
but
plan. And the name's AI.
I would say a lot.
Fine,
I guess.
What the frick do we do?
That's funny.
Well, out of all the 80s jocks, what do you think makes up his composition the most?
Quiet, woman.
Yeah,
This
that's a good
laser
question.
does not match.
A good part of who he is goes back to that
Guns, laser, power ray,
South Park.
blast.
Gotcha. Well, it's kind of interesting. He's kind of a character you don't see so much anymore. So it's kind of interesting to see it in a throwback sense.
Sci-fi geeks.
Scouring the globe.
But one of the big motivations I gave AI, who's played by Adam Singer, I just told him to go watch Big Trouble in Little China. Watch how ridiculous that movie can be at times, and how much fun Kurt Russell's having playing Jack Burton. That's what this movie is, you know? Not that it's the equivalent
front of the
that
picture.
film, but
Keep the shield on
this
us.
movie is that kind of out there. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but that's okay. Like, you're just trying to have fun. Work with what you have as much as you have. And, you know, like, you can believe that this dinosaur's chasing you and you're about to push him into the back of an ancient chaser. And we've accomplished, like, a really major goal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of Big Trouble in Little China, but that's actually a really apt comparison. It's just a bunch of people having fun and putting their all into it.
Yeah, that's like one of the great things.
Hey, lizard.
The effects, some of it's just so out there. And
This
I mean, if I could just be as cool as Kurt Russell is in that film in real life, like, I would just be, I just wish I was that cool.
And if I could go obscure for a sec, I almost think of it as the Japanese film House, where that movie employs like so many different styles of special effects, and they're giving them to you like a mile a minute. Like 1 minute someone's getting eaten by a piano, the next minute someone's like drowning in a river of blood. And sometimes the effects look beautiful, and other times it's we're not trying to fool you that this is actually happening. We are just going to do it in a really stylized way instead. And that's kind of what this movie reminds me a lot of.
I appreciate that, and I have not seen House. I've heard of it, and I need to watch it, so I will watch that ASAP.
Do yourself a favor.
No, I absolutely love those kind of films, and it's not everybody's bag. And I will say, even for Monster Zero, I think there's a lot of folks.
Where'd the stories go?
You just don't.
Told them
they're
to
not a
run and
fan
they
of this kind
ran.
of movie, and that's
They're
okay.
probably still running.
But the
So
ones
what
who
now?
like enjoy these kind of movies,
Monster
like
Force Zero, thank you for your help.
it's just great. Like when you find that audience, you know. So, not saying that
The
part
Anunnaki
2
will
is in the
regroup.
works, but if there
Find the
was,
gamma reptilian and return it to stasis.
I think that gremlin that just pulled up
Sorry
behind
for
there,
your loss.
the AMC
Janitor was a
gremlin, that
brave
car. I would love to see that thing transform into like a 20-foot monster, 20-foot
You'd
transformer.
probably say the
and
needs of the
battle
many outweigh
like
the needs of the few.
a giant monster in the city somewhere. That's kind of like our
Protecting Earth
goal
has been our
for
mission for
another
centuries
film
now.
if we go there.
We'll take it from here.
We cover a lot.
come a
We've
time when
already
the
covered a
Earth's in
lot
need of
within
you,
this movie,
when
but
that day
I'd love to
comes.
see some kaijus.
Yeah, as would I. And that's Mike Casito, the writer. He's a big kaiju fan.
Fought well.
Really into it. He's
Not bad for a bunch of humans.
like an encyclopedia when it comes to those kind of things.
You were half bad yourself.
It seems like we are very much nearing the end. Any closing things you want to say?
Boots.
I mean,
When you gonna take that
honestly, I
mask
just think it's fun that you guys hung out and watched the film with us. I mean, I just appreciate it. And we had a lot of fun making the film, and all of us left this film still as friends, and some of us still work together. And I think, like, at the end of the day, if you can make a movie and everybody can still be cool with each other, that's a massive success. But I appreciate the opportunity to just hang out and watch it with you guys. Thank you for doing it. And sorry that we don't reveal boots. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. I think I got as close to an answer as I could ever hope to get.
Maybe it'll be in the sequel.
Ooh, who knows? All right. Well, I would like to thank you all for coming, and thank you for bringing this to us, and thank you for hanging out with us. This has definitely been one of the highlights for the convention.
As I will chime in, I agree with that. It was a very pleasant surprise to me to have you guys hang out and talk with us.
Whether it's virtual or in person, I'm happy to do it. This was fun.
Yeah, me too.
We really stretched these credits out. Well, one thing I'll ask, everyone who's watched, if you haven't already, if you please go to IMDb and Amazon and, throw a rating on there and leave a little comment of what you thought of the film. I'd say, it's always great if you can do it from the perspective of the kind of audience that, that we were trying to reach, which is the con-going audience. Obviously not trying to tell you what to post, but we really want to push that people who are into the, the cons and the Comic-Cons and, that this is that audience.
Yeah, it says ADR recording provided by Nate's apartment. That's funny.
Yeah. We put a little shout out to James Rolfe from Cinemassacre in there too for my ADR recording guy. Because they kept me sane while I was, Angry Video Game Nerd kept me sane while I was working on all the effects. I watched every episode in the background while I was working on this film.
Hold on, Nathan, hold the phone. Did you say you were watching Angry Video Game Nerd to help keep the same?
Yeah, that's possible. I just started from the very first episode of Angry Video Game Nerd, and I just kind of had it play in the background as I was working on these effects. These effects took me about a year to finish. So yeah, the nerd's just hanging out on the screen beside me, unknowingly holding my hand, telling me everything was going to be okay. But
I found I've watched the behind the scenes of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, and there's just a lot of great, just basic advice on filmmaking in that.
Yeah, No, there is. And what's really great is also how well they know their limitations too, you know, and lead into it and just kind of own it. And not try to make something that goes beyond. I think a lot of folks try to make something that goes beyond their budget and maybe their technical know-how. Like I'll be honest, I'm learning every day. And making this movie, I came out of it like a way better filmmaker because of it. And I think like that's what I love about folks like the Nerd and everyone else that makes these films on a very low budget. Like they accept the reality they're in, they accept their limitations, and they just kind of go in head on and just own it,
Yeah, I totally feel that. So just to whoever's still here, this is the end of the panel. It's my job to shut the lights off on the way out. So once again, I've said this a few times, but thank you all for coming and thank you so much for contributing. I'll get working on the video and I'll send it your way. And thank you so much for coming to ITHACON.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.